In a world full of opinions, headlines, advice, and endless information, one skill matters more than ever: critical thinking. Critical thinking is the ability to slow down, examine ideas carefully, and make better judgments instead of reacting automatically. It helps us separate facts from assumptions, truth from noise, and wise decisions from impulsive ones. Whether you are choosing what to believe, solving a problem at work, making financial decisions, or simply trying to understand people better, critical thinking can improve every part of life. In this video, we'll understand what critical thinking really means, why it matters so much, and most importantly, how you can strengthen it through simple daily habits.
Every day, we are surrounded by information. We read social media posts, listen to opinions, watch videos, hear advice, and make decisions, both big and small. But here's the problem. Not everything we hear is true, useful, or well thought out. Sometimes people speak confidently, without evidence. Sometimes emotions influence our judgment. Sometimes we believe something simply because it sounds familiar. This is where critical thinking becomes essential. It helps us pause, think clearly, and respond wisely instead of reacting blindly. In today's world, critical thinking is not just an academic skill. It is a life skill.
So, what exactly is critical thinking? Critical thinking means examining information carefully before accepting it, rejecting it, or acting on it. It means asking questions like, is this true? What is the evidence? What assumptions are being made? Is there another way to look at this? What might be missing? Critical thinking is not about being negative or argumentative. It is about being thoughtful, fair, and rational. A critical thinker does not simply believe the first thing they hear. They explore, compare, reflect, and then decide. Many people misunderstand critical thinking. It does not mean criticizing everything. It does not mean distrusting everyone. It does not mean showing off intelligence or arguing for the sake of argument. True critical thinking is calm, open-minded, and disciplined. It allows you to question ideas without being rude. It helps you stay curious without becoming cynical. It means being willing to change your mind when better evidence appears. In fact, one sign of a strong thinker is humility, the ability to say, I may not know enough yet. Critical thinking improves decision-making. It helps you solve problems more effectively. It protects you from manipulation, misinformation, and emotional overreaction. It helps in personal life, work, learning, money management, and relationships. Imagine reading a dramatic headline online. Without critical thinking, you may believe it immediately or share it without checking. With critical thinking, you pause and ask, is this from a reliable source? Is the headline exaggerated? What are the facts? That small pause can save you from poor decisions. In a world of speed, critical thinking teaches the power of thoughtful delay. Critical thinking involves several core elements. First, clarity, understanding exactly what is being said. Second, evidence, looking for facts, proof, or trustworthy support. Third, assumptions, noticing what is being taken for granted. Fourth, logic, checking whether the conclusion really follows from the information. Fifth, perspective, considering other viewpoints. And sixth, consequences, thinking about what may happen next. When you develop these habits, your mind becomes sharper, steadier, and less easy to mislead. The first way to improve critical thinking is simple: pause. Most poor thinking happens when we react too fast. We hear something surprising, emotional, or exciting, and we immediately believe it, share it, or respond to it. But good thinking begins with a pause. When something grabs your attention, stop and ask yourself, do I understand this fully? Am I reacting emotionally? Do I need more information? This small pause creates mental space, and mental space is where better judgment begins. Critical thinking grows through questioning. Strong thinkers ask better questions instead of rushing toward quick answers. Useful questions include, what is the source of this information? What evidence supports it? Could there be another explanation? What is missing here? Am I hearing facts, opinions, or interpretations? Who benefits if I believe this? Good questions do not make you difficult, they make you thoughtful. In many situations, the quality of your thinking depends on the quality of your questions. One of the most useful critical thinking skills is learning to separate facts from opinions and assumptions. Facts are things that can be verified. Opinions are personal judgments or beliefs. Assumptions are things people take for granted without clearly stating them. For example, someone may say, "This plan will never work." Is that a fact? No. It may be an opinion, and underneath it may be an assumption, such as people will resist change. When you learn to separate these layers, you begin to think much more clearly. A key part of critical thinking is asking for evidence. People often make claims with confidence, but confidence is not proof. Evidence can come from data, direct observation, credible experts, research, or reliable experience. This does not mean we become suspicious of everything. It simply means we avoid believing something only because it sounds convincing. The question is not, do I like this idea? The better question is, what supports this idea? Evidence gives thinking a solid foundation. Another important step is becoming aware of bias, including your own. Bias is a mental shortcut that can distort how we see things. For example, confirmation bias makes us prefer information that agrees with what we already believe. Emotional bias can make us judge based on fear, anger, or excitement. Authority bias may cause us to believe something just because an important person said it. Critical thinking does not mean becoming bias-free overnight. It means learning to notice bias and reduce its influence. Critical thinkers are not trapped inside one perspective. They actively consider other points of view. This does not mean agreeing with everyone. It means being willing to explore different angles before reaching a conclusion. Sometimes another perspective reveals a weakness in your own thinking. Sometimes it shows hidden risks. Sometimes it deepens your understanding. When you listen only to ideas that match your own, your thinking becomes narrow. But when you thoughtfully consider different viewpoints, your thinking becomes stronger and wiser. When problems feel confusing, critical thinkers break them down. Instead of treating a problem as one giant mess, they divide it into smaller questions. What exactly is the issue? What are the causes? What are the options? What are the risks? What is the best next step? Breaking things into parts makes difficult situations easier to understand. It reduces emotional overload and improves clarity. This is one of the most practical ways to think better in daily life. A powerful but often ignored way to improve critical thinking is reflection. After making a decision, ask, what did I do well? What did I miss? Was I too emotional? Did I assume too much? Did I gather enough evidence? Reflection turns experience into wisdom. Without reflection, we repeat the same mistakes. With reflection, we improve our judgment over time. Even a few quiet minutes of honest review can sharpen the mind in meaningful ways. So, how can you build critical thinking in everyday life? Here are a few practical habits. Read beyond headlines. Compare multiple sources. Ask one extra question before believing a claim. Slow down when emotions are high. Discuss ideas with thoughtful people. Keep a journal of important decisions. Practice explaining why you believe what you believe. And regularly ask yourself, what if I am wrong? That question is not weakness. It is intellectual strength. Critical thinking improves through repeated practice, not through theory alone. Let's bring this into real life. Suppose you see a viral claim online. A critical thinker checks the source and looks for evidence. Suppose someone gives strong advice about money or health. A critical thinker asks whether the advice is informed and credible. Suppose there is conflict at work or home. A critical thinker listens carefully, separates facts from emotions, and avoids jumping to conclusions. In each case, critical thinking leads to better choices, calmer responses, and wiser action. Critical thinking is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. It helps you think clearly, act wisely, and live more intentionally. It is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming more aware, more careful, and more balanced in how you process the world. The good news is that critical thinking can be improved by anyone. You do not need to be a scholar or an expert. You simply need the willingness to pause, question, examine, and reflect. Small habits, practiced daily, can transform the way you think. And better thinking often leads to a better life. Critical thinking is not about doubting everything or becoming overly analytical. It is about learning how to think with clarity, fairness, and awareness. In a noisy world, that ability can protect you from confusion, poor decisions, and unnecessary stress. The more you practice pausing, questioning, checking evidence, and reflecting on your choices, the stronger your thinking becomes. And better thinking usually leads to better actions, better conversations, and better outcomes. If you found this video useful, take one small step today. Pause a little longer, question a little deeper, and think a little more clearly. That one habit can change the quality of your decisions and, over time, the quality of your life.